Hey team, we are back with the off season, and Lincoln Ison, mate. This week, I'm crowning you king of the Dylan Brown fan club.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I was getting pretty animated, wasn't I? I don't think I've ever rooted for the Kiwis harder in my life. Boy, oh boy, though.
You've filled social media as well. It must have been about 30 posts during that game. I was super impressed. I got to be honest. Really riding him home, and didn't he have a good game?
Mate, best on field. Bags a try, two try assists, 146 run meters, four tackle breaks, 22 tackles, only one missed. Sensational football, mate. I was hoping and praying he was going to come out and put a really strong performance in, and he delivered, mate. He delivered on the big stage against a pretty handy Samoa team.
And it's no wonder that you wanted, after the game, to rebrand the team the New Zealand All Browns. I mean, it was a great performance, and I was so impressed with that banana kick to set up that try just at the end of the first half. It was very Joey-esque.
Oh, wasn't it, mate? Yeah, it wasn't. Didn't matter if it was through the hands. Some absolute beautiful kicking game, and then just to top it off, mate, soared like an eagle. He was carving them up on the left. Beautiful kick on the right. Scores underneath the post. He was everywhere. He was absolutely everywhere. I thought he was by like he was the best player on the field. Let's be honest. He just lit it up. Huge moments for the Kiwis. Clinch victory for him. Yeah, let's hope this continues. Cannot wait to see him again next weekend.
Yeah, and the United Facebook and Instagram pages were going off with fan comments. Have you got any good ones there to share, mate?
Oh, I do. Now, here's one, mate. Have to say, Brown's running game will really suit the Knights. Hopefully, it opens up space for the likes of Best, Young, and most importantly, the return of Dylan Lucas to feed off his game. There is hope for sure. Yeah. So
Yeah.
on that left edge, you're right. You had a pretty handy Casey McLean outside of him, but just imagine Brady Best and Dill Lucas on that edge with him too. Going to be absolutely ripping and tearing. Here's another good one.
Dylan double on the left.
Dylan double on the left, mate, all
Oh,
day. Now here's another one. Dylan Brown, little grubber, kicks through to Dom Young in 2026. Will feed my family for generations. So I thought that was pretty good.
love
Yeah,
that.
that's what I was. I was
Oh.
like, I could just see him pulling that same move. He did it for Matt Timoko. Yeah, but it's so pleasing to see. We all know he's elite level talent. He's got, there's still a lot of doubters out there. There's still a lot of doubters, but I think he won over more and more people with that performance.
Yeah, it was strong. And there's still plenty of the pack champs to come over the coming couple of weekends. Mate, I've got to tell you too, I've had a really great week after Manchester United beat Liverpool in the Premier League. And it was a pretty big win, 2-1 at Anfield. It's the first time that Manchester United has won at Anfield, the Liverpool home ground, in 10 years. We've had a pretty barren period. I kind of went back and looked at some of the stats, and I thought we'd done a little better over that period. There were a couple of good performances, but wow, to go 10 years without a win at Liverpool, to get that win on the weekend was huge. Liverpool have now lost 4 in a row, and this game is the first time we have won back-to-back Premier League games under this current coach, Ruben Amorim, who's been in there nearly a year now. So it is a big victory for us. And on cloud. Well, actually, the joke I made was feeling on cloud ninth because we're now ninth in the Premier League. So that's about the highest we've been for a while.
Oh, nice, mate. Did that bloke that defector from Newcastle that we were talking about last week, was he playing or not?
Yeah, he played, but he didn't do a lot. It was Harry Maguire from Manchester United who sealed the victory with a big header. He's a defender. You may have heard of him. He plays for England as well. His nickname affectionately is Slabhead because he's got a massive forehead and just he's always there heading in goals just when we need them. So yeah, Liverpool looking pretty shaky, and they're going to need to really pull their socks up over the coming weeks. I think they can do it because they're the champions right now, but they've got quite a few new players, like Isak from Newcastle, still trying to settle in to this new setup at Liverpool in the Premier League, and it's going to be interesting to see how they go into Christmas. You might know, mate, that Christmas New Year period, there are so many Premier League games back to back to back. They're playing just about every 3 days in the league for about 2 or 3 weeks, so that is going to be the test. How do they go in that pressure cooker situation after they've had, 4, 5, 6 months to get used to playing with each other? But let's have a look at what else is happening in the offseason. And a very creative deal is putting a former Newcastle Knights half into 2 teams. Not one, but two over the next 2 years that I think are going to be major contenders. Jonah Pezzett is apparently signing a 1 year deal to play in the halves with Mitch Moses at Parramatta next year. And then he is signed to the Brisbane Broncos the following year to replace Adam Reynolds, who's expected to retire after next season. Now, Link, I'd say that his agent, Braithen Astor, probably deserves a pay rise, although I think he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, what a bizarre contract. I honestly just can't see how this makes sense for Parramatta. Unless they honestly feel like they're a genuine shot at a premiership in the next 12 months, like next season. Because like it's kind of a bit of it's considering what Jason Riles did with Dylan Brown. Now, Dylan Brown, was famously benched by Jason Riles, going, "We're developing into our future." And you go, strong move by a rookie coach. But this kind of seems to go back on that. You would think, well, why would you not play Dylan Brown then this season? He was, we all saw what he did on, last weekend. So I don't know. It's a real bizarre one. I can't sort of understand why. What's in it for Parramatta? You're going to stunt the growth of, a junior guy coming through. I don't think anyone sort of really considers them to be an absolute heavyweight. I think they're going to feature in finals, but they're probably not, especially under the second year under Jason Riles. But yeah, take your hat off to Braithen Astor. Yeah, wow, what a move.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic because for Pezzett now, he's putting himself on a path to full-time rugby league. He's not stuck behind Jerome Hughes and Cam Munster. Cam Munster's been talking this week quite openly about his future. He's talked about the potential of going back to fullback in case Paps went to R360 to accommodate Jonah Pezzett. Now that Pezzett is looking like moving to Parramatta and then to Brisbane, I think that's obviously not a concern for Munster, but it's obviously something that they've been talking about in Melbourne. And now with this potential move happening, you do wonder what it is that the Eels are going to get out of it. And I think they're going to get a really great half for 12 months. And what that gives them is probably another 12 months to either find and buy or develop a player that's coming through in the halves to go along Mitch Moses in 2027. And maybe they just don't have that player right now.
Can it be interesting if this is sort of that watershed moment where we see more contracts like this, or is this going to just be one of these weird one-off? Do you remember that Jonah Pezzett deal where he's leapfrogged the Eels for 1 year to go to Broncos? Going to be interesting. I'm going to be keen to see if Braithen Astor is going to start a new trend, and we start seeing this a little bit more. So.
I think it's interesting. I think the structure of contracts has become quite stiff and rigid and done in a particular way. I'm really interested to see what unfolds, and like you say, whether there's any more of these types of deals that might appear over time. Now, mate, Bradman Best has been spotted at the NFL in London this week with some of the other Aussie players ahead of this weekend's first test against England. Now, at that game, the LA Rams smashed the Jacksonville Jaguars 35-7, a proper smash up. It's the third week in a row that that the NFL has played a game outside of the US. And I saw their quarterback, Matthew Stafford. He asked after the game, "Do I get a sword or something?" I assume he was thinking maybe from the King of England after his 5 touchdown passes that he threw in that game. It was a mega effort. But this is the best start for this particular team since they won the Super Bowl in 2021, 5-2. They are doing really, really well. Another team that's 5-2 are the Philadelphia Eagles. They had a win this week. They beat the Vikings 28-22. And did you see Jordan Mailata, the Aussie, go viral this week?
Yeah, mate. I don't know if you realize they are my sworn enemy. The Philadelphia Eagles are my Brisbane Broncos. They're our divisional rivals. There's a long history of hatred between those two clubs, mate. But yes, unfortunately, Jordan Mailata plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. And yes, he is not only is he quite talented on the football field, off the football field also. He's got a great set of pipes on him, mate, for a big fella.
Really good. He sang a cover of Amy Winehouse's Valerie. And I believe, is this right? He's also recorded a Christmas album.
Yeah, there's a bunch of the whole a couple of team players in the Philly team. Jason Kelsey, joined Mailata. I think it was released like a couple of years ago. It is a guilty pleasure as much as I don't like the Philadelphia Eagles. Come Christmas time, it does get a bit of a run in the household. But for a big fella, mate, uber talented, right?
Yeah, super impressive. Now, meanwhile, I don't know if you saw this. Harry's been seen at Buckingham Palace. Not Prince Harry, not Prince William's brother, but Kangaroos vice captain Harry Grant. He was there this week along with Hudson Young. Bit of an interview there with Danny Widler where they went around London in the back of a cab, and they were spotted there at Buckingham Palace. Um, the team are getting out and about. They're training. They are preparing for this first test coming up between the Kangaroos and England. It's a really interesting lineup that's been selected, and we talked a couple of weeks ago about who would be the halves, and now we know it's Nathan Cleary and Cameron Munster, but we've got 5 debutants, we've got a Queensland front row, and a New South Wales lockout of the back row. What do you make of this team, mate? And are you expecting an absolute blitz of points, or do you think this is a bit of a defensive lineup to try and kind of grind out a win, and then to maybe go a bit harder in matches 2 and 3?
Well, mate, that back line, Reece Walsh at the back, with Mark Nwanga Nitawase, and you got Josh Adokar. That is uber excitement. That is a fair bit of firepower at the back. We know defensively they're going to be pretty sound, but looks like there's going to be plenty of points, mate. The English are going to need to be on point, because there is strike all over this team that Kevy Walters put together. Pretty exciting. Unfortunately, our boy Brady Best, I hope he gets the nod over Gemart Shibasaki. I've said it numerous occasions. I think he's the best specialist left center, Origin Arena, whatnot. He always delivers on the big stage. So let's hope our boy Brady gets his chance somewhere in this Ashes tour. But geez, it's hard to be too critical of the team Kevy's put. It is absolutely stacked.
Yeah, and I'm really happy to see Katoni Staggs in there. He's a New South Welshman playing for the Broncos, but he's a banger of a player. He's a strong, hard-running centre. I'm excited to see him in the team. I'm also really interested to see how some of these players hook up with Reece Walsh, because he didn't really fire in Origin. He sort of came good in that third game, but not like he has played with the Broncos at the back end of the season, where it's been really free, fast, and open. Nathan Cleary is a controller of the team. He plays in a particular way. Cam Munster is much more free form and a runner of the ball. He's probably more likely to connect with Reece. So that's one of the things I'm going to be looking for. Which players is he going to connect with most to kind of to create? It could be Harry Grant. He might be following through the middle. I don't know, but like you say, I think there's plenty of points. Even on the bench, it's pretty exciting. Tom Dearden, Kian Koloamatangi, who's debuting for the country, Lindsay Collins and Ruben Cotto. It's a really strong, solid bench there. 3 big forwards, and Tommy Dearden could slot in just about anywhere, really, couldn't he?
Yeah, I think Tommy. There's no way he could not pick Tommy Dearden if he wasn't going to get one of the half spots. Which honestly, I thought he was going to might pip. These guys to get one of those jerseys, but a super sub at 14, tough as nails, quick for days. The English, I'm sure, are going to be doing their homework on Tommy Dearden when he makes where it might be. Whether it's 10 minutes before halftime, some big tied middles. Sub him in there, let him do a bit of damage. But yeah, there's certainly that Queensland connection in there. Reece Walsh, Cameron Munster, and Harry Grant. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of combination thrown to the Poms. That's got a little bit of Queensland magic. Yeah, it feels so wrong talking about this, Scotty. Glaze and Queensland spine members and
It's
whatnot.
weird, isn't it? It's so
It
weird.
does feel weird, but this is the one time of year that we can get around them. We're not Queenslanders or New South Welshmen for this part of the year. We're Australians, so let's hope it all connects, it all comes well, and the big massive crowd that they're going to be
Yeah,
in front of
60,000.
the English cannot
Yeah,
wait.
60,000 they're expecting at Wembley Stadium. Then, of course, there's games in Liverpool and Leeds over the next couple of weeks. One player that's in the squad that I was sort of pushing for and hoping to see in the halves was Mitchell Moses. He's not there, but he may get a chance depending on what happens over the next few games. Back in the day, though, mate, this is the first Kangaroo Tour since 2003, and way back in the 70s and 80s. I don't know if you knew this. They used to take enough players to field 2 teams. So they had the Kangaroos, but they also had a team called the Emus. And
Hmm.
this second team played against Super League sides, local sides, and that was where players would fight for a test call up, which were on pretty lengthy tours. Then it was much more than the 3 games than what we're going to see on this tour. Um, Mitchell Moses, for example, would be playing in the Emus team if it were to be a part of this tour this year. I'm interested to know which Newcastle Knights do you think could potentially make an Emus team if it were to be fielded in 2025?
I believe the two guys that immediately come to my mind, Scotty, played for the Prime Minister 13 last year. Uh, Dill Lucas, I think, at the time, I was the first one, mate. Check the receipts. I locked him in. He's going to be an Origin player before anyone else came and said it. I think it's only a matter of when, not if, Dill Lucas is going to be representing our country. And Razor Sharp, I think he's a guy. Had he have played the entirety of this season, he would have been, I think, a genuine smoky. He is just so exciting to watch. Again, very versatile player. You could slide him into the halves. You can put him at fullback, put him on the wing at a pinch as well, and he'll do a job for you. So they're two guys immediately, I think, would be knocking on the door pretty darn soon if they're not in this Emus. Well, they'd make the Emus team, but making the Kangaroos.
Yeah, I had both of those on my list. I also had Kalen Ponga.
Well, what's his situation? Isn't there still a little bit up in the air about him and the Kiwis? Or
Well, I did write on my list in brackets, depending on who he's playing for.
Mm,
So, but he'd be one. Fletcher Hunt, who played for the Prime Minister's 13
mhm.
this year, I think would be in with a chance of being in that EMU squad for sure as well. Mate, the other smoky for me, and maybe this is pushing the boat out a little bit too far, but Jermaine McEwen, I think he could be a great bench player in an EMU side. And his development, I'm really excited to see how he goes over the next couple of years.
Yeah, well, hopefully his allegiance is with the Kangaroos. I believe Eva plays for Samoa, so he
Okay.
might have a choice to make there. I'm sure he'll get a nod in one of them. But yeah, I'm with you. I really do feel um, Jermaine McEwen's going to have a big breakout year 26. I was super impressed from what we saw of him for a young guy to come in and do it. He did play with so much confidence. I know he didn't get every play right, but Jesus, exciting, much like Fletcher Sharp and Kyle McCarthy, these guys that when they make an error, they don't go into their shell. They go, you know what? We did what we did. We're going to play with confidence, a bit of swag, and you're just going to back it up the next play. I love that. I love that from Jermaine McEwen. He's ultimately the reason why I've decided, obviously, not to re sign KPP on the big contract. They're going to back him in a bit of a money ball situation, and I think it's going to pay dividends.
Well, as we said, it's been a big year for all those players, and what a big year it has been for Fletcher Hunt. And I just want to do a little deep dive on that because he's given an interview in the last week or so about his journey over the last couple of years, and it's been a massive 12 months. He made his NRL debut. He scored a couple of belting tries for the Newcastle Knights and set some up as well, and really had a big impact when he came into the team. Of course, having that haircut, matching him with his brother Fletcher Sharp. I think they are related, right? um, visually, so exciting to watch. But of course, he also at the end of this season played in the PM's 13 against PNG last week. Australia won that 28-10, and he had a really good performance in that team. And like I said, he's given an interview about his rise from the tiny town of Warren. And one part of that I read was so interesting. And he's a country boy at heart, and he moved to Newcastle when he was so young. He was sort of 17, 18, I think, and he was so homesick, mate, when he first arrived in Newcastle that he couldn't bring himself to go home to his high school formal back in Warren, because that he knew that if he made that 5 hour trek all the way back to Warren, which is a tiny town about 100 k's outside of Dubbo, that he probably would never come back to Newcastle, and then we would not have seen the rise that we've seen from being on the bench in SG Ball just over 12 months ago to playing in the Prime Minister's 13 at the end of this season. It really has been a meteoric rise.
Absolutely, mate. You're right. Right from the get go, in his debut, and he has made, I think he was right. I think he should have been on the cover of Rugby League 26. Shout out Fletcher. The great picture. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, that is a PlayStation cover if I've ever saw one.
Yep.
The great bat back try, round 10, one of our last home win at Mac Jones Stadium for Kalen Ponga to clinch victory. Look, he is an absolute aerial threat, speed for days. Look, is he a complete player yet? No, but there is a great player there. There is absolutely a great player. And he just strikes me, Scotty, as one of these guys that you would love to play with. I'm sure there'd be a lot of, the OG Knights players that would see a guy like Fletcher Honey like that dude, country guy, as you said there, what a great story to not go back to your formal because you know better. You know that you mightn't come back. That's
Yeah.
that's the mark of a man, isn't it?
Also shows that the pressure that's on these young kids when they move to another town to start their rugby league career. It's hard, but he's shown some incredible resilience. He's shown some growth, not just in his locks, but in his physical attributes and his mental approach to the game. I'll say it again. He's got one of the best haircuts in rugby league. There's no doubt about that. But I want to ask you, how far do you think this guy can go?
Oh, mate, as you said, he reminds me a lot of Fletcher Sharp. There's just that X factor. There's no other sort of way to determine. It's just X factor. Said some of the stuff he does under the high ball is absolutely incredible. I'm
Yeah.
going to be so excited to see what Justin Holbrook can bring to his game. Obviously, Danny Badira's coming back in the coaching ranks too. I think will be a really good mentor for a younger guy like him that's coming through as well. It's going to put real pressure on positions because Greg Marzu, he's going to have some real pressure on him. I feel he's very different, isn't it? Like the winger position is so different. You'd look at the two standing side by side, very different footballers. One poor old Greggy, he's lucky to jump over a bloody traffic cone. And our boy Fletcher Hunt, boy oh boy, he could jump over the crossbars.
Absolutely. I
So
was going to
yeah,
say the
look,
same thing. Yeah.
so yeah, no, I think put it this way, Scotty. I think 2026 is going to give us a lot of highlight packages for our boy Fletcher Hunt.
Yeah. And I mean, the other part of that, and I've been thinking about this a little bit, what do you reckon is his best position in 2026? Is it in the centre where he played for the Prime Minister's 13? Is it on the wing? Is it as a backup fullback? Where do you see him playing over the next couple of years for the Knights?
Yeah, it's interesting, because he kind of was a bit of a Mister Fix It at one point there. I know we had the game where we played him at centre. He was doing pretty well, and then I think Shills was playing out of position in the centres as well, and they kind of did a switcheroo there, and I think he sort of found his place more so on the wing for the Knights, but then shifted back to fullback a little bit also. Look, defensively, he's got a little bit to work on his game, but that's completely expected. And especially in the context of how the Knights season went, it's pretty hard to lump, defensive problems on a guy who's played less than 10 NRL games.
True.
But look, I'd probably have to say wing. I think if he's gonna give a red hot crack and maybe get a position in this team, I think it'll probably be starting on the wing, mate.
Yeah, and he probably got some more physical development to go. He's already a big body, I reckon. To see that growth in him physically to match the growth in his game will be super exciting over the next 12 months or so. Mate, there's plenty of players looking for a team next season, including a number of Newcastle Knights. Adam Elliott, Jack Hetherington, Jackson Hastings, Mason Teague, Paul Bryan, they're all off contract in Newcastle. There's talk that Jackson Hastings could go to the Gold Coast Titans. He gave an interview in the last couple of days saying that he thought he's sort of playing his best football at the moment and over the last 12 months or so. I think it's debatable, but he has confidence in what he can do over the next 12 months, 2 years. Which of those players you reckon you're going to miss the most?
Oh, mate, for me, Jacko, like he was such an integral part of that 2023 team that got all those wins. Unfortunately, mate, just those injuries made it crippling. Like just to have all the rods and screws in that ankle, he got that nasty hip drop injury
That's right.
from Jacob Preston that would have just made it that much worse. And to see him, I still thought he played some really good football for the Knights and the opportunities that he did get. He's a real battler, Jacko. I know he's a bit of a maligned figure. He's a kind of some people sort of either like him or don't. He's kind of very divisive and that sort of thing. But I've loved what he brought to our team. I thought he was such a competitor and such an important player in that 2023 team. Adam Elliott, the sweet potato. I always said about Adam Elliott, he's the kind of guy you don't know what you got till he isn't there. But again, unfortunately, since his time at the Knights, he's just groin injuries and stuff. He sort of hasn't been able to put long patches of football together. But look, both of those guys, mate, they will find a football team. They still have value within the NRL, absolutely. Particularly Jacko, like you've seen, there's not an abundance of experienced halves in the competition, and to
No
pair
doubt
him.
of
He
it.
might be a starting halfback, but geez, I think he's a pretty darn handy backup, or at least a really good mentor for a young guy that you might be bringing through.
Well, the interesting thing is he's talking at the moment. Obviously, he's trying to get a club. He's trying to generate some interest, and he's talking sort of team first. I really like the way he sort of said, "Well, I can play anywhere. I'm happy to play number 14. I'll play lock. I'll play hooker. I'll play half. Whatever's best for the team that I go to." And so he's not got his heart set on being a halfback. He's got his heart set on getting another contract and contributing to a club. So I reckon that's a pretty good approach to take. And like you say, I think he would have something to offer to some other clubs that are out there. Some other movements around the NRL that are of interest. Danny Levi, the former Newcastle Knights hooker, is off contract at the Raiders. Reports that he could be potentially off to the Leeds Rhinos in the Super League under coach Brad Arthur. Some more moves in the halves next season. Dolphins halfback Sean O'Sullivan is off contract. He's moving to the Bulldogs. And I reckon probably a pretty good mentor there for some of the young halves that they've got, particularly Lockie Galvin. There's been so much talk about him and his development. He's got a long way to go. But Sean O'Sullivan is a great pickup for them. And Daly Cherry Evans, the Manly Seagulls half, everyone knows he's off contract because he told us. He said he wasn't going to continue with the club in 2026. And uh, the rumor that has continued to swell really all season is that he's going to the Roosters. Um, Lincoln, what are they waiting for?
Bizarre, right? Look, what an absolute soap opera. Like, it's so rugby league. Yeah, he goes on. He was on Nine, basically saying thanks but no thanks. But then wasn't it the Manly CEO rings Fox at the same time simultaneously? They're getting a different version of events. It was messy. I think it was a huge part as why the Manly Seagulls just nuked their season. Huge distraction, bizarre, eh? Like, the most experienced NRL player in the game. He knew what he was doing. He wasn't some young guy who's got bad advice. He's been around the block. He's been around a minute old DCE. But why? Yeah, why? Even now, the season's done. It's wrapped up. Why there hasn't sort of been, oh, yeah, this is where I'm going, or weird. But yeah, there's always been smoke around the Roosters, haven't they? It reeks of DCE going to the Roosters.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense when you look at their roster now, and I just can't understand what they're waiting for. I mean, maybe for this Kangaroo tour to be over. I mean, a preseason has to get underway, so maybe by the time this comes out, this show is out in the internet. It will have been announced, but it does seem weird that it hasn't been announced already. Now, I've got a question for you, mate, and I've been thinking a little bit about this week. I want to know: would you take a job if you knew that there was a chance that someone could come over the top of you and take it off you in 12 months' time?
It would largely depend on who that person would be, mate.
So the reason I ask this is there's a good chance that this could happen to Josh Hannay, who's the new head coach at the Gold Coast Titans. And there's been a number of stories this week saying that the club is also apparently chasing Craig Bellamy to finish up at the Storm at the end of next season and to come to the Gold Coast Titans as either a head of football, like Phil Gould is at the Bulldogs, or to come in as head coach, which is massively, it's a major move. His family's there, of course, so it makes sense personally. But for Josh Hannay, who has been waiting in the wings for the right job to come along for a long time, he's agreed to be head coach at the Gold Coast Titans. And I believe from what the reporting has said that he may have even had a clause in his contract that suggests that they might bring in another coach over the top of him after the first 12 months, knowing that they're looking at and talking to Craig Bellamy. I mean, Hannay may double his salary moving into this head coach role, but he would lose his status. He might keep that wage, but he'd lose his status. And I think, I suppose the only consolation is he'd be learning off the best.
Mate, this is such a Gold Coast Titans scenario, right? Like, so bizarre. Yeah, I don't know. Like, do you think Josh Hannay was sitting there going, you know what? It's probably not going to happen. Like Craig Bellamy, I think we spoke about it on an episode two ago about this rolling contracts. Just
Yep.
every 12 months, is Josh sort of sitting there going, well, oh, look, he's probably going to hang around there for another couple years, whatever, or yeah, or maybe you're right. He's just sitting there going, well, either way, I'm a winner. If he doesn't come, I'm gonna be the head coach. If he does come, I get a year or two or whatever as an apprenticeship under Craig Bellamy. So weird. Is Josh Hannay? I don't know if has he even come out and commented about this at all?
No, but my worry for him would be that this rumbles on through the off season and into the start of the 2026 NRL season. So, Craig Bellamy generally leaves his decisions about the following year until late into the sort of the current season, which he did again this year. And there's a really good chance that Josh Hannay's authority could be undermined through this season as, he's trying to kind of build the culture and do things his way as he's the new head coach of the Titans. It just could be a really unstable start
Mm.
to this new job, and I kind of wouldn't want to be him right now.
Well, maybe that because Tino now news broke today, he's going to test his market value. So yeah, maybe it's the old adage, actions speak louder than words. He's sort of gone, oh, I might have stayed on if there was a clear direction, but if this is wishy washy, I don't know. Is he coming? Is he going? That's yeah. If your captain's coming out, like he is their cornerstone of that club. They cannot lose Tino.
No.
For him to kind of say that, it probably does spell the end for Tino. I can't see them,
Well, this is the
keeping
second
him a
time
bit.
he's sort of hinted at this or done this. He
Yeah.
must be sick of losing. And he's a quality player.
Mm.
He came out of Melbourne. He's played for his country and for his state. He's won state of origins. He knows what it takes to win, but he just can't seem to do it at club football because of the setup around him.
Yeah, well, there was a I've said this numerous times throughout the year on another show, but they surveyed all NRL coaches and they said if there was one player, like everyone's a free agent, you had to start a new club and you could sign one, who's the first guy you would buy? Something like 80% of all head coaches all said Tino.
Wow.
100% of them. And you got two
Really?
new clubs coming to town, mate. His market value is going to be huge. Not only he is a great player. I love Tino. Um, but just all the intangibles off the field, everything he brings, it's super unfortunate. He's kind of the opposite of what the Gold Coast Titans kind of are. He's such a consistent, hardworking, competitive football player. It must be incredibly frustrating to sort of be tied up in a team that sort of gets in its own way so much. As I said, it's such a Gold Coast Titans thing for this sort of scenario to play out before a ball's even kicked. But we sort of think, oh, okay, they've got their ducks in a row. They've got the next big head coach. Josh Hanno, I think, was the top of the list. He was going to be the next Soraldo, as you were saying.
Yeah.
And no sooner he hasn't even got his feet behind the desk, and there's this other Craig Bellamy stuff gets in the road. Tino's tested market value. They just can't get out of their own way. The Gold Coast Titans, mate.
Yeah, look, I hope they sort it out for Hannay's sake because right now it sucks to be him, and it's going to be a bumpy ride through the off season for him. All right, now, mate, I want to do something a little bit new this week. I've come up with an off-season Hero of the Week award, which I want to kick off. It might not go every week because there might not be someone who is, truly worth such high praise. But this week, my Hero of the Week for the off-season goes to Mark Nwanganita-Wase at the Roosters. He's also, of course, on the Australian Kangaroo Tour. And in a major flex, he turned up to Sydney Airport to travel to the UK in luggage previously supplied by the Wallabies, logo and all. That's that's something special.
Mate, he's earned the right. He's absolutely you earn it when you're a dual internationalist. Absolutely. I would love though. I'd love to have seen PVL's reaction. I don't think it would have gone too well with him given the ARU anything at
Oh
all.
yeah.
But look, mate, when you've done that, by all means, yeah, I'm not even offended at that.
No, I just think it's fun. Like I don't think there's any real problem with it. Honestly, I mean, I could imagine if I was the media manager for the Kangaroos team, I'd be pulling my hair out at the terminal there. But yeah, like you say, good on him. What a flex, and I hope he has a bloody great game this weekend. So we'll of course see that, and you've got your live stream this Sunday morning, 1:30 a.m. New South Wales time. What's that? 12:30 in Queensland that the game's
Yeah,
being shown.
daylight savings, mate. Does my head in. But
So
yes,
are
that's
you
right, mate.
going to bed early, or are you just going to stay up and?
Well, it's actually my birthday, so I highly doubt I'm going to go to bed early. I think it's just going to be a big old day. Now, I'm yet to undecided. I've been given tickets to go to the game at Suncorp Stadium, the Tonga game, Tonga
Oh,
versus
right.
Samoa at three
Yeah.
o'clock. So, depending on how I
Oof.
pull up after a big birthday, and I'm hoping an historic win for the Kangaroos, their first Ashes in 20 years at Wembley. We'll wait and see. I don't want to overcommit But boy, oh boy, I'm excited. So yeah, make sure you tune in for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. All you patriotic Australians, come in, join the chat. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be really good. Can't wait. So, mate, let's go around the grounds now and have a quick look at some of the other sports that we're watching this off season. And the juju is bad. Bad things are happening in threes for Aussies on the world stage right now. I say it started with Keith and Nicole a couple of weeks ago. Of course, they're headed for Splitsville. She's filed for divorce, and it's no good. But what's followed is Oscar Piastri now under huge pressure in the F1 standings after a very bad run, and of course, to make it 3 out of 3, Ange Postecoglou fired as the Nottingham Forest manager. I hate to say I told you so, but I said it right here a couple of weeks ago that he could get the chop before Christmas. Lincoln, I just had no idea it would happen this quickly.
Mate, you got the receipts. You read it like a book, pal.
Uh,
Now, for our boy Ange, is
yep.
it too early to tell? Is there a suitor waiting in the wings? Is it one of those scenarios in these positions when you haven't performed? Is it a wait and see, or do these guys kind of get snapped up pretty fast, or
There's two
where's he
ways
going to
this.
be waiting?
There's 2 or 3 ways this could go. He could jump into another job, but the pressure that the media will put him under after 2 kind of failures, even though he won the Europa League trophy with Tottenham, they finished 17th on his watch in the Premier League. No good, and then he lost 8 games in a row with Nottingham Forest. So there's a bit of stink around him in England. But he could just sit back, count his money for a little while, and then go and get a job in one of the other big leagues in Europe, and he would do a great job. It's not as defensive in sort of Spain and Italy and France. He plays a very attacking mode of football, so I think he could do really well there. There's also the option of like going and rehabbing himself as a pundit on television on Sky News or on one of the podcasts over there, just to remind people that he actually knows what he's talking about, that he knows footy, and that he's got some smarts about him, and that potentially could be the key. You've seen other managers do it. Jose Mourinho's one, and there's been some others over the time who go and just sort of dabble in punditry. And we saw it with Shane Flanagan here, didn't we, in the NRL? He went
Mm.
commentated with Triple M for a while and then ended up picking up a job at the Dragons. And you could see something similar happening with Ange. It has been a lucrative time, mate. He got 8.3 million Australian dollars in compensation after Tottenham gave him the axe because he still had 2 years left on that contract. He got a $4.2 million bonus for the Europa League win against Manchester United at the end of last season. That was the trophy that he won. And then no doubt he's got a pretty good payout leaving Nottingham Forest after just 8 games. So it's not the worst thing, but he's the
Mm.
sort of bloke that probably doesn't care too much about money and really just wants to be around football. It is also a shame for his assistants. Former Aussie captain Mile Jednak was one of his assistants, and Nick Montgomery, who coached the Central Coast Mariners to a title here in Australia back in 2023. It's sort of a shame for them. They were with him at Tottenham. They've come to Nottingham Forest, and usually what happens in the English Premier League, when you get rid of the manager, you get rid of all the support staff as well. So
Oh
um,
wow, clean house.
it's a clean house, and the new manager brings in their team. So it's a shame for them. It's a shame for Mile Jednak, who's a champion Aussie player. But they will pick up other jobs as well. If not with Ange, then with somewhere else. I did see a really great meme a couple of days ago off the back of Ange's sacking, and it said when Ange flies back from London to Melbourne, he could watch every minute of his 8 games in charge and still have enough time to left to watch Crocodile Dundee in full 3 times before landing.
Oh wow. Is he a bit of a trailblazer, Scotty? Is he like the first Australian to ever sort of do this job over in the EPL, or has
Yeah,
there
I
been
mean,
others before him? Or
yeah, we've had plenty of Australian players do really well in that top tier in England, and there are some, on the fringes of it now. But he's the first Australian manager to coach over there. I
yeah,
don't
right.
think he'll be the last, but he's a trailblazer. He has led the way for Australian football. Obviously, he took us to our first Asian Cup victory in 2015 here on home soil. He coached us at the World Cup. And then he's gone off and done some really great things in club football in Japan and in Scotland. And, he helped Tottenham win their first trophy in more than 20 years. So even if he never coaches again, he will go down as one of our greatest Australian sporting people. He did play football when he was young. He wasn't very good, but he's been an incredible coach, and that should never be forgotten. Like this little run here, he'll recover, and if he coaches somewhere else, he'll do a great job. Now I'm starting to watch the F1 races between my fingers a little bit after a horror run for Aussie Oscar Piastri. He was untouchable in the first part of the season, but he's had a bad result after getting hit by his teammate Lando Norris at Singapore a couple of weeks ago. They both then last weekend crashed out of the sprint race in Texas, hitting each other, which Max Verstappen then went on to win. And then Oscar only managed fifth in the main race on Sunday. So Piastri now leads the championship by just 18 points, which isn't a lot when you think there's still 5 full Grand Prix and 2 sprint races to go before the end of the season. He's starting to look very fragile. And Max Verstappen, who is the 4-time world champion, is now breathing down his neck. He's a very good chance at coming in over the top of both Lando and Oscar. They're kind of fighting with each other now. I'm really nervous for Oscar because Max Verstappen, his car was crap at the start of the year. They've made some changes and they've improved it. And he's the kind of driver that just does not make mistakes. I'm really nervous for Oscar because this could be his one chance while Max Verstappen is driving so well to win a world championship.
Is it in F1? Is it kind of almost a case of the most consistent driver wins, or is there ebbs and flows? Is there like just seasons of dominance with them? Like generally, like whoever takes out has just been by far like boom, just out and out the best, or is it a
Yeah,
case
look,
of you just if you're hanging around podiums there and there enough, you're going to take it out? Is that kind of
well, I think the thing that's unusual with Oscar and Lando is you've got two extremely high quality competitive drivers in the same team. So if you look at Red Bull, which Max is driving in, he is out and out the best driver there, and he's the best driver in F1. And his teammates tend to run 10th or below. So you're not fighting for points so much. So you've got Lando and Oscar really competing. They're competing, within their team to get these top points. And what's happening is they're kind of clashing with one another almost and fighting for the same points. And Max is coming over the top. Consistency is super important. Max doesn't make mistakes. Lando is a very good driver, but and Oscar's incredible. What's happened is he's been a bit rattled, I think, by a couple of poor performances and some things that have gone wrong inside the team that are out of his control. And his mentality has got to hold tough. I think Formula One is about skill. It's about having a great machine beneath you, but it is very much about mentality. And if he can hold his nerve for these last few races, there's every chance he'll hang on to the top placing and win a world championship. But if he loses his nerve, Max will not let him get away with it, and he'll just go after him, and he will win, and he'll make it 5 running. So it's super exciting. If you even have a bit of an interest in Formula One, this is the season to watch. I promise you, it is super exciting. They're racing in Mexico this weekend, and I can't wait to watch. Now, Lincoln, have you ever heard of the Great Barrier Thief?
I have not. No,
All right.
Scotty.
It's not the Great Barrier Reef I'm talking about. It's Aussie Dyson Daniels, who plays in the NBA. He is one of the most dominant defensive players in the competition. Had an absolute blinder of a season last year, and he built that on really, really strong defense. He plays for the Atlanta Hawks, and he's just signed a new deal for 4 years worth $153 million. Very similar to the deal that Josh Giddey is on at the Chicago Bulls, and makes him both of them some of the highest paid Aussies in sport. It's phenomenal at such a young age, isn't it?
Mate, that just goes to show you, hey, like the ecosystem of sport in Europe, in America, is just in a completely different stratosphere, isn't it?
Oh, totally. Do you have any idea who else is on the rich list? You've got Dyson Daniels and you've got Josh Giddey. Who else do you reckon is sort of sitting at the top or near the top with them of the best paid Aussies in sport?
Oh, our boy who we are talking about before, Jordan Mailata, would have to be up there. He'd be around 30, I think about 30 mil easily a season
Yeah, you're
with
right.
Philly.
$33 million a year with Philly.
Yeah.
He's on a 3-year deal at the moment and doing well.
Yeah, killing it. Yeah, they were on big bickies, those guys. I still remember it was the Jay Leno show, and back when Russell Crowe owned the Rabbitohs.
Yes.
And I remember him making the remark, it was the first $1 million player, who was Greg Inglis. And they said, yeah, the NRL, we've had our first $1 million player. And they just laughed at him to go, $1 million? That's like chump change. I've been paying blokes millions of dollars for decades. But just goes to show you, mate. Hey, it is just, I can't imagine the incredible amount of pressure on the athletes on that stage. Like, we all feel, the NRL players, absolutely, but geez, like some of, as you said, even these F1 drivers you're talking about, just the absolute weight of expectation on some of these young athletes must be absolutely enormous.
Yeah, 100%. And they say that Oscar's a bit like a goldfish, so he's got to find that mentality again. But he's one of the top paid Aussie sports people as well. He's just signed a new deal at the end of last year worth about $41 million a year Australian. So he's doing very well. The other one in researching this that I'd forgotten about. But big bickies going to a couple of our golfers, Cam Smith and Mark Leishman,
Of
both on the
course.
live tour and pocketing mega bucks. Did you? I'd forgotten this. Cam Smith signed on to live golf for $140 million. I
That's
mean, the bloke
nuts.
could never need to work again.
Honestly, if you're going to be paid lots of money to play a sport and you can come out the other end and you're not going to be banged up, mate, golf is it. Like, it is it, right? Like, shout out to everyone else is doing that, like strapping yourself into in a vehicle that's going ridiculous speeds, or Joy Mailata just bashing his body countless times in a game of football. Yeah, swing a golf club around and just and cruise around, do that, mate. What an athlete's dream job.
Absolutely, and of course, in your golf bag, you've got a couple of stubbies in there to have on the 19th hole, or even as you get around, get around the course. So yeah, not bad. 140 million for chipping away on the golf course. It's a pretty good life.
Absolutely. Is that guy who was he Australian?
Jason Day.
Tiger Woods's old caddy.
Oh
Wasn't he
yes,
an Aussie fella too?
yeah, he was. Yep.
They would get pretty good coin too, wouldn't they? The old caddy.
I might have a look at that this week and come back to you on that because I'm not sure. I reckon there'd be a bit more sort of prestige around it, but I don't know what the pay's like. So let me look into that and come
All
back
right.
to you on the NBA because we were talking about that before. Dyson Daniels, the Hawks were beaten this week by the Raptors. The NBA course getting underway this week. Quite exciting to see that kickoff. Your New York Knicks beat the Cavs. And the Bulls beat the Pistons. So Josh Giddey off to a bit of a start there, which is good. Now, I'm just still on the NBA. I really love seeing athletes trying to better themselves and do stuff outside of sport. Matisse Tybal, who is an Aussie, plays over in the NBA as well for the Portland Trail Blazers. He posted on Instagram this week about his last few weeks, and he's a bit of a content creator. He's quite cool with his photography and his video. Um, but he's taking a course at Harvard Business School, which I thought was quite cool. Very impressive to see that. And just finally on the NBA, I'm glad I'm not the only one who's feeling a little bit older these days. LeBron James missed the first game this week for the LA Lakers because he's got sciatica. So it's
Wow.
an old man's problem, that one. It's a nerve issue in the glute. He felt a burning pain down the back of his leg, and he's expected back in about 4 weeks. But man, he is going into his 23rd season of the NBA. It is unbelievable.
That's incredible. How old would he be,
I think he's
LeBron?
41.
Wow. That's absolutely,
Have you
that's
seen that
insane.
on Netflix? They've got that Starting Five documentary. I think the second season has come out, but he was in the first season, and you see the incredible nick he keeps his body in, and the amount of time and effort he puts into just like looking after his body and being able to continue to function at that elite level. The other really crazy thing is that his son is now in the LA Lakers squad. So they played together last year, and they'll be doing the same again this year. And so you've got two generations of players playing in the elite level of the NBA. It's kind of crazy. Like, could you imagine seeing that in the NRL? Like, it's not possible.
There was one player, it was oh Jordan McLean played with both Tom Leroy Lars and also his son.
Yeah,
So not
right.
directly, but there was one player that actually played with the father and would end up going playing with the son. But yeah, maybe Cameron Smith. Maybe if he had a super early, had a baby, but yeah, apart from that, yeah, I think it'd be a long, long time, mate, before we see a father and son duo on the footy field together.
Now, last week we talked about classic Aussie sporting moments, and there was a few really good ones. But we had a message in about a fan favourite from Chris Wilson. What did he have to say?
Yeah, one we slept on, mate. Christopher Wilson, shout out to you, mate. Regular listener. Hey, Link, listen to the off-season podcast. Classic Aussie sporting moment. I remember Bob Hawke sculling a beer, the SCG 2019 Australia v India.
Oh, mate,
Hey,
you can't have an Aussie summer without your former PM sculling a schooner at the beer, a schooner at the cricket. He did it. There was a classic one back in the day where he used to scull a yard glass, and he did it in public as
yeah,
it was either as the PM or as a union official, which is what he was before he went into the parliament. So he was a well known beer drinker. But this particular time at the SCG in 2019, it was only a year or so before he passed away. So he was getting on, and he grabbed that schooner. There was a group of people around him, but they ended up, I can't remember if it was on the big screen. It was certainly filmed and put on like social media and on TV and stuff. It was still elite level skullduggery from the former PM. He drained it, and it was super impressive. Just so bloody Aussie, and such a great moment from the former PM Bob Hawke.
oh, does it get any more Australian, mate? Skull
Well,
and beers at the bloody cricket. Like, let's be real.
exactly like the you got the beer cup snake, of course, that makes the appearance at the SCG and the MCG at various times through the summer. And I love seeing those Richies, of course. Richie, one of the great
Yeah.
parts of our Aussie summer for so many years. And now you get those group of boys that turn up in the beige, the bone, the off white, the white, and they've got their suits and the wig and the plastic mic, and the bay gets bigger. It's like Blatchy's Blues, but Richie's in the stand. It's so good. I love it.
Yeah, nah, it's good fun, mate. I said, I think I'm gonna have to take out. I'm gonna really try and get along to one of these tests up here at the Gabba, mate. It's I think it's an Australian tradition everyone must do. So I've got to get around to this year.
Yeah, and man, with the Ashes, Australia and England being the Test series, it is going to be a really great summer. Just quietly before we finish up, so good as an Aussie seeing oh, Virat Kohli. I've nearly forgot his name. Virat Kohli go for two ducks this week in the 2 1 days against the Aussies. There's nothing sweeter than seeing one of their great batsmen getting done for a duck. So quack quack. See you later, Virat. Mate, that is it for the off season. Make sure, of course, you guys follow the United on the socials. We'll be here every week till Christmas on YouTube and Spotify. And of course, my tip, as always, is to work hard and be good for your mother. Lincoln, it's been great doing another show with you. We will see you next week. Enjoy your off season.